25-year-old promoter Brian Manthorn is suing former client, surgical admitter Joanne Morante, for the unpaid balance on a ski weekend. Joanne says the trip was a disaster and she's not paying. She is countersuing for pain and suffering.
Now, this is case number 11 on the calendar in the matter of Manthorn versus Morante. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated, sir. Have a seat.
Mr. Manthorn, you are an event planner, according to what I read in your complaint.
Yes, Your Honor.
You plan different kinds of trips.
I'm actually a club promoter, not an event coordinator.
Well, but you were planning trips.
Yes.
This particular event was a trip.
Yes.
Mrs. Morante wanted to plan a weekend with some friends, and she answered your ad. Your ad was for what kind of a weekend, Miss Morante?
Freestyle ski trip.
What does that mean?
Freestyle is a type of music, like classical or disco. It's a certain type of music.
Would somebody my age like that kind of music?
Not at all.
You answered that very fast, Mr. Morante. Do you know what freestyle music is?
I have no idea.
Can you hum something in freestyle?
No, I don't really want to.
Okay. Anyway, and that was the ad that you placed, is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you signed up, you gave them a deposit.
Correct.
And how much was the deposit?
$250. $50 per girl. There were 5 girls.
2 days? Saturday,
yes,
Sunday?
From Friday night arrival, Sunday morning departure.
So 2 nights?
Correct.
Okay. And she paid you?
Yes, she did.
She went on the weekend eventually, even though the date was changed.
The ski trip that I had promoted for was canceled. The date wasn't changed. It was the freestyle event was canceled for that weekend.
That I never knew about. Okay. Until now, today.
Shh. That was canceled.
Yes, Your Honor.
And you planned something else. Why was that canceled?
Okay, it was canceled due to the lack of people. We couldn't get people to go on the ski trip weekend.
Because nobody knows what it is. So then you planned something else.
No. What I did, I put them on a different ski trip for the following weekend.
Without our knowledge.
Well, just a second. You planned something else for them.
I gave them an alternative. I gave them 2 alternatives. I gave them, alternative number 1 was give them their deposit of $250 back.
That's a lie.
Shh.
Or I could put them on the second week,
Just a second. Shh, listen to me. She gave you the $250.
She mailed it to me, the deposit of $250.
Okay. So you had her address.
Yes, I did.
Can I see the letter that you sent her indicating that you were canceling the freestyle weekend, but you were giving her 2 options? Can I see that letter?
There was no letter.
That's all I wanted.
Thank you.
There was no letter. But one way or another, you got on this second weekend that they had planned, you and 4 friends.
Me and 3 other girls.
You and 3 other girls.
One was soon to be my sister-in-law.
Please, I don't need that information.
Okay.
I have a very, very busy day today. And you say it was a trip from hell.
It was a disaster.
Can I see the ad for the weekend?
The original that I picked up?
The original.
This is the original.
The original? That's the only one that he's got? Because...
No, I received the second one.
Oh, you did receive it?
At the hotel.
Oh, okay. Not before you went?
Not before I went.
Okay. So tell me, now this looks like a very nice promotion.
Yes.
This is what you've sent out, right?
Yes, I was still promoting for that, yes.
Good. And what you're suing for, sir, is she stopped payment on the $940.
Yes, she did, and I have the check right here.
I believe you. She doesn't deny it. She says that it was a disaster. So I'm going to hear her. Okay. Tell me why it was a disaster.
Okay. Prior to leaving for the trip, Brian changed the dates on us 1 week in advance.
You went. You didn't have to go.
Okay.
You went.
We went to the bus location with him saying that he was going to meet us there Friday evening at about 6 p.m. with about 4 or 5 buses waiting to hurl 500 people up to this freestyle music weekend. There's no Brian. There's only 2 buses. We were not on any kind of list, my name or any of the girls that were with me, to get on the bus. We had to sit there and talk to people that did not know who we were.
So you first had a problem with the organization.
Right.
You finally got on a bus.
We finally got on a bus. The minute we sat down, we smelled marijuana. We refused to sit on a bus with marijuana for our health reasons, and we weren't planning this kind of ghetto weekend. We were trying to go away to have a nice weekend trip. And this was not something that I would ever be interested in.
Okay.
So we complained. They opened up the vent on the bus and sprayed air freshener. I walked right off the bus with the 3 girls.
Okay.
Called my husband, called Brian. He did not pick up his cell phone. He didn't show up.
What did you do next?
I complained to the bus drivers. I complained to the other promoters who never heard of me, who didn't even know who Brian was, and they told us to
get on another bus?
They made us get on another bus, correct.
Was that bus okay?
That bus had a lot of drinking and cursing. It was better than the marijuana, but it was not acceptable once we were en route.
Did you get to where you were going?
We did, without being able to use the bathroom, all 3 girls.
When you got to where you were going, tell me about the accommodations that you had.
We walked in. People from the first bus were mimicking, saying things to us because we complained about the pot smoking. They were saying we were troublemakers.
I'm not interested in what they were saying about you. I'm interested in the accommodations.
Okay, well, the accommodations was a room that, you know, had 2 double beds. We were, you know, all 4 girls staying in the same room together.
Did you stay?
We stayed in the hotel room with the doors locked, towels under the door because of the marijuana.
You stayed in the hotel?
Correct, we did.
Why didn't you go home?
I had no way of getting home. He came and picked me up, and he cut his bachelor party short because he was in Atlantic City with my brother and the rest of the guys. And he had to drive over 3 hours to come pick me up, and we had to go home with him squished like sardines in a truck, 4 girls and suitcases and everything, because we refused to get back on the bus with the people that was ghetto that we would not want to be around. Going home another 3 hours. We were not allowed to use the bathroom in the bus unless we took alcohol shots from strangers. It's ridiculous.
Listen to me. I don't understand.
You find it funny. I don't think it's funny.
Miss Moranti, listen to me.
You weren't there.
Miss Moranti, listen to me. I don't understand why you would stay in the hotel.
Well, there was.
She's lying, Your Honor.
I'm lying? You weren't even there.
No.
Okay?
Mr. Mann, listen, if you can't behave yourself, that's not going to bode well for your success in this case. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you supposed to be on this trip, Mr. Mann?
I was going, originally I was going to go, but I'm in the National Guard, and I had drill that weekend.
Show me. I believe you're in the National Guard. Show me that you were on a drill that weekend.
My drill assembly schedule was at home, but I let Joanne know and I let Liz know.
No, you did not.
Just a second. Did you tell them before you took their money that you weren't going to be there?
I told them when they came to make the final payment that I wasn't going to be there.
That's a lie. I never made final
Just a second.
She never made final payment with me. Liz came to my place of business and was going to make final payment, and that's when I let them know that the ski trip was canceled, and I would give them 2 options. Option number 1, I'll give them back the deposit.
How much profit did you make on this, sir?
I made $50 off each girl, so I made $200.
And you were the subcontractor?
I was the sub-promoter, yes.
Because you said, I'll get a certain number of bodies for you to go.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
That's how it works, yes.
Did you explain that to Miss Moranti, that you were not promoting this, that you were
I told her I was a sub-promoter. The main promoter is on top of the flyer.
And he wasn't there. It was a different company.
Just a second. All I want to know is, did you tell Miss Moranti that this was not something that you were organizing and promoting?
Yes.
You were merely selling that, is that right?
Yes.
No, he told me he was a promoter, and his phone number's on that card.
If you're going to be fixed with what's in your head and not listen to my question, you're not helping yourself.
Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't hear it or understand.
Because you're not listening, you have to put on your listening ears.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You have a counterclaim for your pain and suffering. And right now, what you're being to me is a pain. And I'm suffering.
And later today,
What a con artist. I mean, does she think that we're stupid, that she's going to be able to resolve this issue with those kind of answers?
Hope springs eternal.
Sit down, April.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Promoter Brian Manthorn says former client Joanne Morante owes for the balance on a weekend ski trip. Joanne says the trip was unsafe.
Did the plaintiff ever tell you that he was not in charge of promoting this event?
No, he didn't.
Listening ears, that somebody else was in charge of promoting this event, and all he was doing was providing bodies at $50 a person.
No, he didn't.
Of course not. Don't fib to me, sir.
Your Honor.
Listen to me. Did you tell her that this was not your gig, that you didn't know anything about it, but that you were getting $50 a head for every person that you brought in?
I didn't tell her what I was getting. I told her that I was sub-promoting. Yes, I did. I didn't tell her that I was.
You're a
I didn't tell her what I was
Swiftie.
making.
I don't believe you. Did he tell you that?
No.
Of course not. I don't believe you. That's a fib.
Thank you.
Well, Your Honor, I also have a tape. She's claiming something about the bus ride. I also have a tape that Liz left on my voicemail message about the bus ride. Can I play it?
Absolutely.
Saved voice message.
Hey, what's up? Just wanted to call you that,
Is that
I
Liz?
was a bit happy they changed us bus, which is
Yeah.
much better than what we were before. And what I was trying to tell you before was, like, it was a really, really ghetto, and,
See?
like, I don't know, it just smelled like weed and stuff, which was, like, I don't know. But now they changed us to another bus, so much better. So we're like more happier. So if anything, I'll talk to you. Sorry, bye.
That's exactly what she said.
Yes, and that was
she
before.
Said that the second bus. She said the second bus. She had to drink and everything like that.
That's correct. She used the bathroom.
She
How
said
ghetto.
the second bus was better. Why should she have to tolerate the first bus?
Absolutely, I agree with her 100%.
Good. Then you get nothing. Stick with what you know, sir. It sounds to me like she had a horror show of a weekend. It was so bad that she wouldn't return on the bus back home, and she asked her husband, who will vouch for that, I assume, to cut his weekend short, to come and pick up the 4 girls because they were so put off by what was going on with the bus that they didn't want to take the bus home. Why do you think she would do that if it wasn't miserable?
Because she calls me a con artist.
You are. You are.
Okay, if I'm such a con artist,
you are. You
if I'm such a,
you are.
Your Honor, if I'm such a con artist, then when she wrote me these checks, I would have cashed them the day of.
That's your problem.
I never
tell
did
him
that.
when to cash the checks.
She
Your
did.
counterclaim's dismissed.
She absolutely did. She said.
Do you understand?
I guess.
You guess. You know why?
No.
Very easy. Because you have a counterclaim for your pain and suffering. And right now, what you're being to me is a pain. And I'm suffering. Because I already told you that this is a court. And in a court, when I look at you, you testified he was quiet. So your counterclaim is dismissed. That's your punishment.
It's a big punishment.
It is. It absolutely is. So you got $250 deposit. That check went through. Is that right?
Yes, it went through because...
You got $50 a person for how many people?
For 4 people.
That's $200. That's $450. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
How much money are you out?
I'm out $940 minus $200.
That's right.
That'd be 7.
That's what you're out. Don't do it again. Stick with what you know. If you con somebody into thinking that they're going to have a great weekend and they have a miserable weekend, there has to be consequences. That's your consequence, $750. Your counterclaim's dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Brian's a con artist. He got what he deserved.
Outraged that somebody can pay for something, spend the whole entire weekend, and still get away with not paying for it.
It was just horrible. It was terrible. There was marijuana going on.
Marijuana use is illegal. She had a choice to get off that bus.
It was out of control, ghetto, something that I would never take part of.
When she seen that it was so ghetto, quote unquote, she could have left. She chose to keep going.
He deceived me from the beginning.
Stay away from prissy girls like that.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Liebhardt versus Malone. Step forward.
19-year-old student Angela Liebhardt is suing her ex-boyfriend, automotive technician Michael Malone, for the return of her furniture and for throwing away her computer. Michael says the computer had a virus.
Ms. Liebhardt, you and the defendant lived together for a brief period of time and claimed that when you moved out, you left some of your stuff there for the defendant to store. You don't want it back anymore. And then there was a computer that Mr. Malone says he got tired of storing and it was broken anyway, so he threw it out. Okay. When did you meet him?
I met him in December of '03.
Where?
At a bar that a friend of mine owns.
How soon did you move in with him?
It was almost immediately.
What does that mean? I mean, that night, the next day?
It was probably about a week or so.
What made you make such a precipitous move?
It was an error in judgment.
Okay. What did you bring with you?
I brought my bed with me. Things were given to me during the relationship. The computer was given to me approximately a month before we broke up.
By whom?
My grandmother.
Was it a new computer?
Yes, brand new.
How old were you when you moved in with him?
18.
How old are you?
29.
29. All right. When you moved out in June?
Yep.
Under what circumstances?
He told me to leave.
Did he say why?
We were done.
You weren't getting along anymore?
Yeah.
Why did you leave the computer?
I was leaving town for a few days, and I asked him if it was okay if I left my stuff there for a few days. He told me it was all right. I could leave it there as long as I needed, and I've attempted to get it back on numerous occasions, and he's never there.
Well, after you left in June, when was the first time that you attempted to get your computer and furniture back?
It was 3 days after I moved out.
Tell me what you did.
I called him up, and he wasn't home, and I told him that that's when I would be back in town, is in 3 days.
So you called him up, he wasn't home?
Yes.
So, what'd you do next?
I waited a few days and called him again.
And did you speak to him?
I made an appointment to go and get my stuff with him.
So that was about, let's say, a week later, you made an appointment to go and get your stuff?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Are you making it up as you're going along, or is that the truth as you remember it?
Angela Liebhardt says ex-boyfriend Michael Malone threw away her computer. Michael says the computer was junk.
Step up. What is your last name?
Renee Williams.
Okay, Ms. Williams, when for the first time did you contact Mr. Malone?
I started attempting to call him in October.
Did you ever speak to him?
There was a couple times. One time we set a time to meet. At that time he had...
To meet to do what?
So that I could get Angela's stuff for her.
What furniture is there?
There is like a china cabinet and like a hutch type thing, like a buffet.
Something that's wooden?
Thing. Yes, 2 wooden things.
Okay. Where are her 2 wooden chests that she has?
They're in the back room at my house.
Okay, you have no objection if she comes and gets those, do you?
No, not at all.
Good. 5 days from today, you may bring a peace officer if you wish. There'll be an order. Those 2 items are to be in the front of the house. Do you understand?
Yes.
5 days from today, 9 a.m. You'll get a formal order of that. With regard to the computer, sir, you're going to have to convince me why you don't owe her $1,073.67 for the computer.
At first, I had no problem with them getting the computer. Then the computer broke, and we were getting ready to move, and it was junk to me. I've had them say, you can come get it, you can do whatever.
Well, at that point, it was junk, sir, because if you were using it, and if it broke while you were using it, you're responsible for it.
He didn't say that we could come get it. First, he told her that it was at his mom's. Then his wife told me that it was stolen, and now he's saying that it's junk.
Step up. Your name?
April Malone.
April? Mm-hmm. Did you ever tell Miss Williams that the computer was stolen?
Yes, that's what I had known that it was. I didn't know that.
What do you mean you had known? That's what you had known that it was. Explain that to me.
I was told that it was stolen. I didn't know that it was broken.
Who told you that it was stolen?
Some of his family members.
What about him? You didn't ask him?
No.
You didn't say to your husband what happened to you? His family members told you it was stolen? April, look at me. She says to you, where's the computer? You say to her, it's stolen.
I don't know anything about the computer. To my knowledge, I knew it was stolen.
Well, just a second. You're living with your husband, right, April?
Yes.
So it had to be your husband that told you it was stolen.
I don't know anything about this. I don't know anything about this relationship.
Are you listening to what I'm saying? I'm not asking you about relationship. Pay careful attention. You don't get off the hook, because I shake it until I get the truth. That if you told her the computer is stolen, you got that from your husband.
I'm not sure who I got it from. I tried resolving this problem. I offered to claim it on our home insurance policy. I called them, and I had called my father-in-law because I did not know who the insurance policy was through. I still don't.
So what did you do? You called your father-in-law and said, I want to know who our insurance carrier is, right?
Yes, I tried that.
Well, you mean you tried? So did you get an answer?
No, I did not.
Why didn't you get an answer? They don't want to talk to you?
My father-in-law is only home like once a week. He travels.
God, what a con artist. I mean, does she think that we're stupid, that she's going to be able to resolve this issue with those kind of answers?
Hope springs eternal.
Sit down, April. Does it embarrass you to stand up in front of 10 million people and appear to be so foolish?
No.
How many children?
What I could do.
Let me ask you a question. How many children do you have?
I don't have any children.
Try keeping it that way.
I plan on it.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,073.67. 5 days from today, you can go get your property. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
19-year-old waitress Aubrey Ellsworth is suing her ex-boyfriend, James Sanchez, and his mother, Joanne Neri, for 2 unpaid loans. Aubrey says she loaned Joanne money to move and James money to fix his truck.
All rise. Yeah, this is case number 78 on the calendar in the matter of Ellsworth versus Neri Sanchez. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated.
Miss Ellsworth, this young man used to be your boyfriend, and you are Miss Neri, you are his mother.
Yes, ma'am.
According to your complaint, you lived for a period of time with your boyfriend and his mother, and you made each of them a series of loans. His mother at some point told you to leave the house. You left. You want your money. Each of the defendants say that they owe you nothing. Money that you gave Miss Neri was for expenses, your expenses while you lived in the house. And her son, James, says anything that you gave him were gifts because he took care of certain things for you. When did you move in with Miss Neri and her son?
In June of 2004.
And what were you doing at the time?
At the time, I was working for Forever 21.
Now tell me about the first loan you made to Mrs. Neary.
The loan I had made to Mrs. Neary was for $2,000. She said she had needed it for the down payment on the house that we were going to move into. She stated that she had asked her dad to borrow the money, and he had said no, and that I was the last resort, and if I couldn't loan her the money, we would have nowhere to live.
Where had you been living?
I had been living with them in an apartment.
So you all wanted to move someplace else together. Did you sign the lease?
Yes, I did.
On the new place?
On the new place, yes. I was told that I was not going to be a renter on the house, and that the only reason why I needed to sign the paperwork was because I was over 18.
You have a copy of the lease?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it, please. Well, the three of you were clearly on the lease, right?
Yeah.
So you know, I mean, you read this document, didn't you?
I didn't read the whole thing, no.
Why not?
Because she said she needed it signed, and so she stated that,
Miss Ellsworth, you go to school?
Yes.
What school do you go to?
Bakersfield College.
I assume that at least in your spare time when you were younger, you watched a little television?
Yes, I do.
You watched enough courtroom television to know that you're not supposed to sign something that you don't read?
Yes.
So let's not play with each other. So you signed it.
Yes.
And you should have read it. And if you didn't read it, that's not my problem.
Yeah. I did pay rent on the house.
Until you were evicted?
Yes, pretty much.
How much was security and the deposit on this apartment?
I think altogether was like $1,800. I'm not quite sure.
$1,850?
Yeah.
Where'd you get that money from?
From her, because the reason why we had to move from the apartment is I was at the apartment for over a year already. I came home one day from work, and she was living in my apartment. I told my son, look, this cannot work. You know, I don't want her living here. You know, she has a home. She told me she had nowhere to go because her mom was an abusive mother. So, you know, I kind of felt sorry for her. So the next thing I knew, her dog Louie, she has a little dog Louie, he was tearing up the curtains and everything. So I'm a single mom. I couldn't just come up with that money just to move. So, you know, I had no choice. I asked my dad, and my dad goes, well, it's your fault. You should have never let her move in. You know, why you have to move, because the reason why we had to move, because she wasn't on the lease. It was breach of contract, they said.
I can understand if you're moving in together, she's on the lease, she should pay a third of $1,850.
Okay, we moved in that home after we got kicked out of the apartment.
Listen to me. You don't have to get kicked out of the apartment. All you have to do is put the two of them out. And you can stay.
Right. Well,
he's not going anywhere without her. You could stay. Put them out.
No, she said we had to move.
Listen to me. $1,850. Only a third of that. She's on the lease. Only a third of that is hers.
Right.
Why did you throw her out?
I didn't throw her out. She was there. Her and my son were always arguing. It got to the point where I'd come out of work and I didn't want to go home anymore. She was possessive with my son, very possessive with my son.
Did you tell her to leave?
I did not tell her she had to leave. She got upset because I came home one day, the place was dirty. I figured if I'm working, in their home, they should at least have the place clean. We got in an argument. My son heard me say, me and my son arguing. She got up and she left. I didn't verbally say, oh, Aubrey, you have to leave.
She had told me all the time that I had brought sin into her house and that I was bringing chaos and that she didn't want me living there. Her son told me numerous times, I don't have to leave, it's you that has to leave. My mom doesn't want you living here. She threatened to kick him out all the time. She threatened to kick me out all the time just to have, in my opinion, a control.
What?
First of all, my mom never kicked her out. Me and Aubrey used to argue a lot. Yeah, we did.
So it's a good thing she left, right?
No, I don't know if it's a good thing.
Listen to what I said. Stop thinking about what you're going to say next and start listening to my question. So it's a good thing that she left.
Yes.
For the sake of argument,
I'm speaking to you.
Hey.
Yeah, give him a good one.
Okay.
So it's a good thing that she left.
Yes, but she wasn't told to leave.
No, it came to her by mental telepathy, like Karnak, you know. You wanted her to leave, and your mother wanted her to leave.
Honestly, no, I didn't want her to leave. Honestly, I didn't.
He was upset and crying. I didn't ask her to leave because she was still on the lease. It was up to, like, I think March. She left on her own. She came out storming, and she left on her own. That's the honest to God
All right, you got $1,850, Miss Ellsworth. That she has to give you back. I don't believe. How old are you?
In my 30s, late 30s.
30, in my 30s, late 30s.
Yeah.
What kind of an answer is that? How old are you?
39.
She's 18. You're 21 years her senior. She
Yeah.
doesn't support you. You take care of her. All right. Don't go into little things with me. I'm not interested in little things. What does he owe you for?
He owes me for his truck. I helped him fix his truck. I got him a new tire, which was $76. And then I had helped him fix his truck because he had gotten rear-ended February of 2004. He could not...
February of 2004?
Yes.
Where were you for the last year?
I've been trying to collect it. We didn't get the truck, though, starting to fix until September.
Does that make sense to you?
She didn't give me all the money.
What did she give you?
I paid her half of the money back.
What did she give you is my question.
All she gave me was $150 because I paid $150 of it back to her, so it totaled out to $300, and with my $150 coming back to her, it canceled out. And then I went and paid a couple months of rent for her that she didn't pick up on. And this whole thing, we both assumed that we were just going to break it off even like that. Because, like, I mean, we were living together, and it's like, then when we break up, she goes, oh, well, now you owe me for this, and you owe me for that.
Do you want to know something? Mr. Sanchez,
Yeah.
I agree with you. How's that?
I mean,
I agree with you.
I honestly believe if we were still together...
Just a second. Give it to him good.
I honestly...
Give it to him good. Miss
I
Neary.
honestly-
Miss Neary. Good. Give it to him good. Because he doesn't get it. I just said I agree with you.
Okay.
Stop. No more. Listen to your mother.
Can I just add one last thing, then?
Why do you want to add something? I just said I agree with you. You want to tell her you love her? You want to get married? You want to propose to her here?
No, I already have
Then just
another
listen to your mother.
girlfriend.
Your mother's telling you to shut up.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
It wasn't my truck.
Listen, Miss
You didn't
Ellsworth.
have a car for a while, and I was
Mr.
driving
Sanchez,
you working
you want
back.
you want your mother to slap you upside the head?
And later today,
He was stealing from the casino.
Yes, ma'am.
Nobody forces you to steal, ma'am.
Well, this gentleman here did.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Aubrey Ellsworth says both her ex-boyfriend and his mother owe her money. James Sanchez and Joanne Neary claim Aubrey is controlling and possessive.
When you're in a relationship and you have $100 here and $76 there and $40 there and $50 there, courts don't want to get involved with that if the relationship doesn't work out.
It wasn't my truck.
I don't care whose truck it was. It wasn't my truck.
You drove it.
It was a truck that
Like
you
it was
at
yours?
least rode in. That's what you do when people live together.
Not when it gets impounded. He got it impounded.
Listen, Miss
You
Ellsworth.
didn't have a car for a while, and I was
Mr.
driving
Sanchez,
you working
you
back.
want me to? You want your mother to slap you upside the head?
No.
She's going to do it, right?
Yeah.
Next time he opens his mouth, Miss Neary, give it to him good. You don't have a lawsuit against Mr. Sanchez. Mr. Sanchez and you live together in a monogamous, physical relationship, and I'm certain that during the time that you lived together, you went out to eat, he paid, sometimes you paid, other times you went to a movie, you went to a fair, you went out, he bought you a Frankfurter, he bought you a cup of coffee, you bought him,
I wish
whatever
it were
it
like
is.
that.
Whatever
It's
it is.
hard to be like that if you're as jealous as you are. If you weren't so jealous, it could have been better.
No, no, no. Harder! Harder!
I have a restraining order on him.
Harder! Judgment for the
Aubrey,
plaintiff,
there's
that
a
is
court-
Miss Neary, in the amount of $1,850. Your lawsuit with regard to Mr. Sanchez is dismissed. That's all.
Please excuse me, step out.
He became violent with me, and he started stalking me, following me, going to my job.
As far as harassing and stalking, she was the one writing me letters all day in class and following me and my new girlfriend outside of school.
He wanted to marry me. He wanted to be with me. It became an obsession that became violent and physical.
She socked me a couple times where I had to call the cops on her and almost have her put in jail.
It got to a point to where my work was saying, I'll put the restraining order on him for you if you don't.
She's mad because I don't want to get back with her and I found a better girl.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Richter versus Falk. Step forward, please.
20-year-old physical therapy technician Levita Richter is suing her former friend, 21-year-old caregiver Adriana Falk, for bail money, a loan to get her car fixed, and the cost of a bridesmaid's dress.
Miss Richter, you and the defendant had been friends, according to the complaint that I read.
Yes, Your Honor.
And there was a point when she was in some difficulty. Did she come to live with you at that point?
Yes, she did, Your Honor.
When was that?
About October?
October of 2004?
Yes.
Who were you living with?
My fiance.
who's now your husband.
Yes.
Is that him?
No.
Who was this?
This is my witness.
According to you, there are 2 loans outstanding. And in addition to the 2 loans, you claim that Ms. Falk owes you for this bridesmaid's dress. I assume that this is the bridesmaid's dress. She was an attendant at your wedding. They were supposed to pay for their own dresses. You claim she did not pay for hers.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Falk says that both of those times when you gave her the money, it was a gift, and the bridesmaid's dress she says she paid for even though you still have it.
Yes, ma'am.
Why did you go to live with Ms. Richter and her fiancée, Ms. Falk?
I was having some problems with my mother and needed to get out of the situation that I was in.
And when was the first time that she gave you money?
When this guy right over here got me into trouble at my employment, I was taken to jail because of him and his roommates and what they had asked me to do for them. And
well, why don't you explain that to me further?
Okay, I was working at Colusa Casino in Colusa County. And
where is that?
Part of Northern California.
Go ahead.
Me and Mr. Weiser had started dating, and him and his roommates knew obviously that I worked at a casino and asked me if I could possibly give them players cards with instant rewards on them, which is like a credit, and they can go in the casino and play. Well, I told them a number of times I didn't want to do it. I didn't feel comfortable doing it. Now I'm being charged for all 4 of those gentlemen and what they asked me to do.
Just a second. So they asked you to get them these cards, and you said no. So how could you be charged with anything?
Because I did it anyways.
Oh, so you did it. You did something illegal.
Yes, ma'am.
Levita Richter says former friend Adriana Falk owes for bail money, a loan to have her car fixed, and the cost of a bridesmaid's dress.
Explain to me how you did something illegal.
I would go in and add the instant rewards to their cards. That gentleman right there would come in and play his, not only, and all 4 of his.
I don't understand the instant rewards. What does that mean?
It's just like a credit you can go in and play on slot machines. You can't cash it out. The only thing you cash out is what you win, but you cannot cash out anything on that card.
But you can play with it?
Yeah.
And you knew you were doing, in effect, you were stealing from the casino?
Yes, ma'am.
Hmm?
Yes, ma'am.
Nobody forces you to steal, madam. That's
well,
not
this
anybody.
gentleman here did.
No, he didn't. No, Miss Falk. That's not true. If I asked Bird to falsify a document for me, and I've known him for a very long time, 25 years?
At least.
At least. I guarantee you he would not do it for me. And he likes me. And if I asked somebody that I cared about to do something illegal, I would not be angry if they said, no, that's illegal.
Well, they were when I said no.
So then what you say to somebody who's asking you to do something wrong is, I'm sorry, you can be angry, and if you want to not see me anymore, you don't see me anymore. If you want to not be my friend, you don't want to be my boyfriend, whatever it is. But you don't blame somebody else for you're doing something criminal.
There are charges pending on them, but I don't know what they are yet.
Are there charges pending against you?
Yes, there is.
For what?
For second-degree burglary, and it's burglary in the second degree, and then the grand theft as well.
Oh, well, I'm not going to ask you any questions about that because those matters are pending. I'm sorry. You represented by an attorney with regard to that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Stupid. Anyway, you got into trouble and she bailed you out?
Yeah. He was on his way home and he called her and asked her to bail me out of jail.
Who asked her?
I had called Mr. Weiser and told him that I was in jail because he knew that I was going to meet with the security officers at the casino that morning. Then I ended up being arrested after about an hour or 2 of questioning. I was taken into custody and arrested, and I called him. He was the first person that I was able to call, and he called her and asked her to bail me out.
That's not true, Your Honor.
Who called?
The bail bond gentleman called me at work.
Oh, but she didn't call you.
I spoke to her, and she asked me to come bail her out.
When? You said the bail bondsman called.
I talked to her after the bail bonds gentleman called, and I was allowed to talk to her. And she was crying. She said, please come get me out of this place.
You went there and you bailed her out?
Yes.
What arrangements did you make for her to pay you back?
She was to pay me back. She had promised me that she would pay me back because that's just, I wasn't just going to give it to her. I was getting married in a few months, and I didn't have that money to spare.
Well, I want to know what conversation did you have with her with regard to paying you back?
She just...
Don't tell me what she understood,
She
Ms.
just
Richter.
said, you know, I promise that I'll pay you back. I thank you for bailing me out.
When did she say that to you?
In front of the bail bond gentleman, when we were signing these papers.
Let me see the papers. Okay, what was the next amount of money?
It was the $500 that I loaned her to have her car fixed.
Okay, let me hear.
She was driving a Geo Metro. It needed some repairs. It was $1,000 to have it fixed. Matt was my witness. He was going to pay half, and I was going to pay the other half. I wrote him a check. He deposited it into his bank account, and he
well,
used
just
his
a
credit
second.
card.
Why were you going to pay half? I don't hear what...
She didn't have the money to pay it, and it needed to be fixed, or else she wouldn't be able to drive back and forth to work.
Well, when did you have that discussion with her, Miss Richter?
It was...
On the phone while I was at Winco.
It was not on the phone. She was in my...
Just a minute. Where was it?
I was at Winco with Mr. Weiser at the time, and she called me and told me that her and her husband now were going to loan me the $500.
No, just a second. She said she and her husband were going to loan you the $500. Perfect. And she did. So why don't you have to pay her back?
She had me arrested.
What did she have you arrested for?
Charges on credit card fraud.
And that's another thing that's pending against you? I don't want to hear about it. So she's alleging that you took money from her credit cards. And she called and had you arrested. Sounds right to me. $815 so far. Now let's hear about the bridesmaid's dress.
Bridesmaid's dress, I was getting married March. She was my maid of honor. I have a list of the other two ladies that were my bridesmaids. They knew they were all to pay for the dress. If they did not pay for the dress, they were to not be in the wedding. Being she was my supposed best friend living with me, I assumed that she would pay me back for it.
Don't assume anything.
That's my fault.
That's your fault is right. It's a very nice dress. I hope you can wear it. You don't assume anything. After she didn't have $315, which she didn't give you back for the bail bondsman, and $500 she didn't have for her car, really $1,000 she didn't have for her car, how you could legitimately expect her to pay for a dress, expect her to pay for a dress, is something I quite frankly don't understand. So it looks like a very nice dress. It's yours. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $815. Thanks. That's all.
You may step out.
27-year-old waitress Lydia Hope Ewing is suing her ex-boyfriend, Mark West, for an accident he had with her car. Mark claims the accident wasn't his fault.
All rise. Yes, this is case number 17 on the calendar in the matter of Ewing versus West.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated.
Ms. Ewing, it is your claim that the defendant owes you for an accident that he had with your car while he was driving your car with your permission, and some small utility bill from when he left the house and you were living together. Let's deal with the accident, please, and not this utility bill. All right?
Okay.
Good. How long were you living together?
In December, it was probably about 9 months.
Okay. Sir, let's start with you. When was the accident?
Approximately December, I believe.
You want to tell me what happened?
Basically, she asked me if I could drive her to work because she was running late. Dropped her off at work, was driving to a friend of mine's house and was...
Well, why were you dropping her off at work, sir? You were borrowing her car?
She was late and...
She doesn't drive?
Yes, she does, but she was late. She had asked me if I could drop her off.
Mr. West, if she's going to work and if she's late, why isn't she driving her own car?
She could put her makeup on the car on the way to work. More time to get ready.
Does that sound right to you?
No. He wanted to borrow my car. His truck wasn't legal to drive, so it wasn't registered.
Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
Well, why didn't you say that?
That wasn't the reason I was driving her car.
Well, sir, let me tell you what you just said to me a moment ago. You said you dropped her off at work and you were going over to see a friend of yours.
Yes.
Which means you had someplace to go. And if you couldn't get there driving your truck, which you clearly wouldn't use because it wasn't legal, you needed a car that day.
I wasn't legal either, so me driving anything was not legal.
You mean you had no license?
Suspended license.
Why is that?
I was supposed to make my court hearing within 10 days. I thought it was 30.
Make what court hearing?
Court hearing I had for a ticket.
What kind of ticket?
Speeding.
Oh. See how complicated things get? Why were you letting him drive your car if he had no license?
I was under the impression that all of that was being taken care of.
What do you mean all of it was being taken care of? What does that mean?
He had more than one ticket, and I
assumed he did.
I was under the impression that it was taken care of, and he had asked me not to keep bothering him about it. I didn't realize he was going to be driving my car all over town like that.
I don't care if he drives your car from here to the end of this room. Driving all over town isn't the issue. Right. Driving at all, getting behind the wheel of a car and turning on the ignition is the problem. So, Miss Ewing, you knew that he had no license.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Let's get to it. So you let him take you to work, go visit his friends, come back to pick you up, and you knew he had no license. I just want to get things straight. It would be so easy if I could get this without, like, pulling teeth. All right, Mr. West, so you dropped her off at work, and then you went to your friend's house. I'm waiting for the accident.
On the way to my friend's house, I was rear-ended.
Did you get out of your car?
No.
Why not?
Because I had no license.
Didn't you get out to see if maybe somebody was injured?
I was the one rear-ended.
So what? I mean, common sense would say, listen, if you were rear-ended and caused almost $3,000 worth of damage, according to her, somebody might have been hurt in the other car, even if it was their fault. Keep going. I'm getting more fascinated with this story.
The damage didn't look near as bad. It looked like it just needed a new bumper, and we had agreed. He had said that he would pay for a new bumper. A month or two later, he still had put it off. And
you're driving the car?
Yes, ma'am.
And he's driving the car?
No, that was the last time.
Never drove the car after that?
No.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
The next month is when he moved out. We were bickering back and forth, I guess, but he was obviously not going to pay for the bumper. So I took it in to get an estimate for the bumper. The damage to the car apparently isn't something that you can see. It's damage more to the frame and underneath the car. The trunk pan is rippled. There's dents, or not dents, but dimples next to the sunroof from the impact of the accident. And
what? Dimples to the sunroof?
Well, during the collision, it'll send a shockwave through the body of the car. And
what do you do for a living?
I'm a waitress.
Waitresses can't give expert testimony on what happens during the course of a collision. Your statement, Mr. West, is that Miss Ewing was in 2 accidents since. How do you know she was in another accident with the car?
All I know is that she obtained new rims because she had damaged one, and the other was pretty much just hearsay.
Were you in subsequent accidents after this incident with Mr. West in December?
I was not in an I ran over a curb, if that's considered an accident.
Well, it's not an on purpose. You didn't run over the curb on purpose.
No, no.
And you damaged the car.
Mm-hmm. Well, the tires needed to be replaced, yes, ma'am.
How many tires?
2.
That's a lot of damage. You damaged the rims as well? Is
Yes.
not an answer.
Yes.
Get a life, Miss Ewing.
Okay.
Let me see the estimate that you have. Replace bumper cover, $284. The rest is for roof panels with sunroof, add for clear clove glass sunroof, possible rear suspension damage, clean and delivery, $20. You needed a bumper. What kind of car do you have?
2002 Honda Accord. And if you the gentleman explained to me why...
Listen to me, my dear. You're lucky, quite frankly, that I would award you a penny based upon the fact that you permitted an unlicensed driver to drive your car. That's your responsibility. You're the owner of the car, yes, and you can say, no, you can't drive your car because you're irresponsible. The government says that you're not responsible enough to drive any car, and I'm not giving you my car to drive. Then you wouldn't have been in this problem with him. Second thing is, I'm not prepared to say what damage was caused by somebody rear-ending him, or whether the underneath part of the car was damaged as a result of you going over a curb that required you replacing 2 tires and 2 rims. But mostly, you had no right to let an unlicensed driver drive your car. Period. End of discussion. Okay. This court is going to award you $200. You want to have the bumper fixed? Terrific. You don't? Terrific. Are you together anymore?
Questionable.
Questionable? When you say questionable, what does that mean?
That means no.
No. Listen to me very carefully, sir. You moved out in what month?
January.
Since January, have you and Miss Ewing had dinner together?
Yes.
Since January, have you and Miss Ewing gone shopping together?
Yes.
Since January, have you and Miss Ewing slept together?
Yes.
Miss Ewing, you get 0. Nothing. Nothing. You picked them, you deal with them. That's all. Goodbye.
Parties are excused, and we'll step out.
We don't see eye to eye when it comes to our future and where we want to go.
Conflict of interest, I guess you could say.
Apparently, if he doesn't want to get a job to pay for the damages or his bills, then therefore, yeah, we apparently don't see eye to eye.
Get to the card, Mr. Livingston.
Yes, ma'am. This was really weird. I called her.
Get to the card, Mr.
I'm going to get to the
Livingston.
card. You said that I was interested. I spent 2 nights over there.
Mr. Livingston, I'm getting older by the second, sir.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. The next case.
All parties in the matter of Livingston versus Goebel, step forward, please.
Electrician David Livingston is suing his former friend, 29-year-old nurse's assistant Kimberly Goebel, for a series of unpaid loans. David says he met Kimberly on the internet, and she played him for a fool.
Mr. Livingston, it is your claim that the defendant, who you met on the internet and had started a relationship with, owes you for 2 loans that you made to her.
Correct.
How old are you, sir?
40.
Ever been married?
Yes.
More than once?
No.
How long?
Well, a little over a year.
Long time ago?
Yes, 13 years.
So you've been single ever since? You're looking for the right girl?
Well, one day.
She's not it.
I understand that. It was never that way, Your Honor.
No. I'm just telling you.
Right.
She's not it. When did you start communicating with Miss Goebel on the internet?
It was about June or July of last year.
And when for the first time did you meet her?
Probably about a month after we started talking.
Of 04?
Yes.
Where did you meet her?
We first met, she needed some stuff. She needed some feminine stuff. And so she asked me as a favor, as a friend, and I went and took her some feminine materials.
That's the first time you met her?
I believe so, Your Honor.
You mean you communicated on the internet and she said, I have to go get some feminine hygiene stuff, and you said, okay,
Well,
I'll come and pick you up?
There was a lot of history behind that, Your Honor, because we had talked on the phone also. We talked on the phone also.
I don't care whether you talked on the phone. I don't care whether you blew up balloons together, whether you sent pigeons to each other's homes. Doesn't make any difference to me. It just seems very peculiar that the first time that you meet a woman, she takes you to the drugstore to buy her feminine products.
Well, you know, I do have to correct myself, Your Honor. I believe the first time we met, we went to a bar for a beer.
Now that sounds like a thing. Is that what happened to Miss Goebel?
And the whole time that we were sitting there communicating, she was on the cell phone the whole time.
Listen, Mr. Livingston, if now you're telling me that the first time you met, she sat on the phone talking to somebody, and then you gave her money sometime in the future, that doesn't make you look too smart.
Well, I understand that, Your Honor, but
okay, good. So, August is when you met for the first time.
Correct.
Now, I'd like you to tell me when you gave her money for the first time.
It was in
The
November?
questions are going to get harder, sir. Your lawsuit involves 2 different dates that you gave her money. Correct. Those should be right up there, because the questions are going to get more complex after that.
Okay. It was approximately 1st of September.
So, within a couple of weeks of meeting her?
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, tell me about that.
Well, she had always played this hard luck story. She was trying to change her life. Said she'd quit drugs. She was trying to get away from the people that she was hanging out with. And when I was down and out, somebody was there to help me. And she pretty much played me that she was a wounded duck, and she was trying to change her life. She said if she didn't get her phone bill paid, she couldn't talk to her mom, she couldn't talk to those people that were important to her. And so it didn't happen overnight. She asked me several times, and there were several times that I said, Kim, quit calling me. And she would also call back and say, you know what, I'm sorry, I understand, and can we be friends? I said,
so
sure,
you gave her how much to pay for her phone bill?
I actually paid it for her. I went down to Smith's, got a money order, and mailed it in for $50 for her cell phone bill.
Okay, and the next?
The next was she bought a car.
When?
She purchased a car in February of this year.
So since August, you've been in a relationship with you. You're talking about February 2005.
Friendship.
So between September and February, I assume she didn't pay you back the $50.
Correct. She kept saying that there was a lawsuit she was going to get a settlement on.
There's my uncle who's coming and is going to help me get straight.
Correct.
How much money did you give her in February?
Again, it was not an overnight situation. Okay.
How much money did you give her in February?
It was a little over $220, somewhere right.
Okay, so that's what she owes you.
She owes me that, and also for her insurance. I paid her insurance for it.
How much was that?
$50.
What's next?
Well, basically what happened is that her birthday was in March, 2nd of March, and I called her. She is trying to make this into a relationship gone bad. It is not a relationship gone bad. She made a verbal promise to me, and that's all that matters. I did buy her something for her birthday. I bought her a necklace that said Friends on it. Okay, I since took it back to Walmart. But, okay, but the situation is that she is very, very good about manipulating somebody's feelings to make you think that you are her friend.
Well, that's what she did to you, sir.
That's exactly what she did to me.
No, I did not.
Who do you live with?
I'm living with my ex, which is my baby's father.
How old is your baby?
2.
Do you have only one child?
No, I have 3.
Where are the other 2?
They're living with me.
Did you ever go out with Mr. Livingston and your 3 children?
Well, he came over to my son's birthday party.
And when did the father of your youngest child come back into the picture?
Well, I was living with him at the time, and he was my friend, and he came over to the birthday party.
So you were living with your boyfriend?
Well, he's my ex. I've been separated for like a year and a half.
Did you know that he was living there, Mr. Livingston?
Yes, I did.
Did you know who he was?
Yes, I did. And what I asked her is, I said, I have never in my life heard a situation to where a girlfriend and boyfriend break up and they're living together. Why is he living there, Kim? She says, because if I don't let him live there, he is not going to let me see my child. He's going to withhold my child from me. Your Honor, I come from a situation to where my ex held my children from me, and I was sensitive to that. Okay?
Mr. Livingston.
Yes, ma'am.
It sounds to me you were a little bit smitten with the defendant, because otherwise you wouldn't have even asked that question, right? So it sounds to me as if
that is not true, Your Honor. She was trying to better her life, and she could not better her life when he wasn't working, he wasn't paying for groceries, he wasn't doing anything but sucking her dry.
Mr. Livingston, if you want to be a benevolent guy, and if you want to be a mentor, there are kids there in the Boys and Girls Club that you can mentor.
I understand.
You were mentoring Miss Goebel because you were smitten with her.
No, ma'am, that's not true.
Yeah, well, I don't believe that for a second. I don't believe that for a second, sir.
I also got a call from her ex, and he basically said, what kind of trouble do you want with me? And I said, you know what, this is none of your business. If you call here again, I'm going to file suit on you. He called right back, and he said, the disciples are going to be after you.
Mr.
Okay?
Livingston.
So,
all very interesting, sir.
thank you, Your Honor.
Fascinating. Can I see the card that you are dying to show me, Bird? Would you get that card for me, please?
Sure.
May I explain that card, Your Honor?
Yes.
Your Honor, this card was...
Yes, now you can explain this love card.
Thank you, Your Honor. She had asked me a lot of times to fix her car. I said I could not financially do it. When I could finally do it, I said, is he leaving tomorrow? And she said, yes. I said, well, that would be a better environment, because I didn't like the guy. I didn't like him around. He was an idiot. He was aggressive, everything else. So anyway, so I felt better working by myself without having him around. Not because I was closer to her, but because it was a better environment for me. Because he's a violent
individual. Get to the card, Mr. Livingston.
Yes, ma'am. So she calls me and says, I want a relationship with you. I said, what are you talking about? You know, that's quote, end quote, I want a relationship with you, Dave. And I said, you know what, you don't have to do this, Kim. I'm your friend. I'm going to fix your car regardless. You don't have to say that.
So?
So I was out of town for 2 days. I got her that birthday present, that $40 friendship necklace. And when I came back, all of a sudden, I mean, this was really weird. I called her.
Could you give me the
yes.
Get to the card,
I'm going to
Mr.
get to the
Livingston.
card.
It says, I love you.
I bought her the card
want to
because when I got back from out of town, we had a fight. Because now understand, I had spent 2 nights over there. You said that I was interested in her. I spent 2 nights over there, and I didn't lay a hand on her. Okay? The card was given to her because there was an interest there. Okay, but
Mr. Livingston.
Yes, yes, Your Honor.
I'm getting older by the second, sir. Listen to me very carefully, Mr. Livingston.
Yes, Your Honor.
The fact that she said to you, I want a relationship with you, doesn't answer the question. I said to you, were you smitten with her? You said no.
I was not.
But I'm speaking.
Yes,
you
Your
said
Honor.
no. You said I cared about her because she was a human being, and people helped me when I was trying to turn my life around, and I was trying to help her. It had nothing to do with a romantic feeling. So the fact that, listen to me very carefully, try to put on your listening ears.
Yes, ma'am.
The fact that she says to you, I want a relationship with you, your response is, Kim, I don't feel that way about you. I want to be your friend and help you because I'm a human being, and from one human being to another, I have no romantic interest in you at all. The fact that she said to you, I want a relationship with you, doesn't mean you send her a love letter. Unless you are smitten with her, Mr. Livingston. Now, you can talk until you're blue in the face, until I'm tall and you're short, but that's the truth of the matter.
Then, Your Honor.
No, cross it off. If you're looking for a mate, sir, she is not it. Put a period. It's over. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Very well.
Your Honor, I
Goodbye.
can recover.
Good luck. Have a happy life. Cross it off. It's money down the sewer. It's over. Goodbye. Not alone.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
50-year-old waitress Amy Bond is suing her former fiancé, Thomas Wheelock. Amy claims that when their relationship ended, Thomas stopped making the payments on his car loan, which she co-signed. Thomas says he only stopped when Amy refused to give him the car.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. All rise.
Judge, it's number 172 on the calendar in the matter of Bond versus Wheelock. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Miss Bond, you were engaged to this gentleman.
Yes, I was.
And have a child together.
Yes.
Now, according to your complaint, you are suing this gentleman because while you were together, you co-signed for a car for him.
Yes.
Big mistake.
Yes, I know.
And when you separated, you took back the car.
Yes, I did. The reason why I took it back was because he was unemployed at the time, and my name is on that insurance and on the car payments.
What about when you separated? You took the car with you initially when you separated.
I took the car the first 2 days, and then her and her mother came over to pick up the car, and I said I would refuse to pay for it if she took it.
That sounds fair.
I took it back because he was unemployed. He didn't make the insurance payments or the car payments that month before because he didn't have a job.
Did you miss a car payment?
No, I did not. Well, because she was paying most of the time for the car.
She was paying it?
Yeah.
For it. Why weren't you paying for it?
Because I'm a bum. Couldn't keep a job for very long and
Why not?
just had problems.
I mean, that's an interesting comment. Maybe truthful, but you classify yourself as a bum. And you said that with a smile on your face. You think that's right?
No.
Well, Mr. Wheelock, you know, I read your answer, sir. I'll get to the car in a second. I read your answer, sir, and your answer complains of lack of visitation with your son.
Mm-hmm.
And you hope that at least I can, in some small measure, resolve the issue of visitation with your son.
Mm-hmm.
Why would I want to expose a 2-year-old child to a bum?
Can I tell you that?
Well, you're the child's father. If you can't tell me that, who do you think can?
That I don't deserve to see him.
Then I don't have to entertain your counterclaim.
Okay.
Are you being honest with me, sir?
Yes.
That takes care of that. That's an easy one. Miss Bourne, you have the car.
Yes.
You took the car back shortly after you separated.
Yes.
Then you have to sell it. I don't know what you're complaining about here.
I took it back because he wasn't making the payments. Why should I make the payments when he has the car?
You're absolutely right. You should have sold it immediately.
I've been
Meanwhile,
trying to.
It's been sitting in your garage.
Yes, I've been trying to. In May, a month after we broke up, I put it in an ad. I did not get any responses. I've gone down to 6,000 in another ad. Gotten some calls, but no offers yet. I've been trying my hardest. I don't know what else to do.
Mr. Wheelock, you want to say anything to me? Huh?
About what?
About this whole process.
I think it's a joke.
Why?
Because, I mean, either way, I have nothing to gain or lose.
But do you feel as if you have any responsibility at all towards helping to make up the deficit in what the car will sell for?
Your Honor, I told her that if she gave me the car, I'd be able to pay for it.
Do you have a job now?
Yes, I do.
Who do you live with?
I live with my parents at the current time.
Do you help support your son?
No, I do not.
Why not?
Because I haven't been able to.
Well, if you haven't been able to help support your son, how are you going to pay for a car?
I just got this job. I was only making $7 an hour at the other job, and all of it went to rent.
To your parents?
No. I was living with my friends. It's kind of a confusing situation. Moved into my friend's house, and I was paying $450 a month for rent, and that's most of my paycheck.
So that you moved back to your parents' house?
Yeah.
Well, you know, this is a no-win situation. It's really a no-win situation. And I want you to think that there's really a much larger picture here, and the much larger picture here is that you two people, when you were still children, had a baby. Now, I don't know why you, sir, refer to yourself in such derogatory terms. I know you say that with a smile, but I attribute that to nervousness.
Actually, not really. I have a 2-year-old son, and I spend over $450 sleeping on my friend's floor for rent. I'm a bum.
Well, you made some misjudgments in your life. But this child is only going to have one father, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you can look at yourself in the mirror and say, I've made a lot of mistakes in my life, but I have to straighten up because I have a child. And you never know, it may be the only child you'll ever have. But you're his father. And it's a very bad thing for a child to feel abandoned by a parent.
Yes, I've given him rights to see him. We've set up every Wednesday for him to come see him when he was living with his friends. And half the time he didn't show up. That's one of the reasons why I gave up, because I'd be sitting there waiting for him to show, and he just didn't make the effort to make it.
Why not, Mr. Wheeler?
I didn't want to get into this, but how do I say this? I've been afraid for myself and for my son every time I'm with her.
Why is that?
Because she's hurt me and she's hurt Brandon when I'm around. That's why we broke up.
How she hurt him?
She's thrown him through the air onto a bed. She threw a can towards him, did not hit him. She left him outside my parents' house when it was raining, and then she drove off, and that was her game. I mean, if it hurt me, that's what she wanted to do.
Did that ever happen?
No.
Your Honor, if we could continue this another day, I can get the 911 tape.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
If he feels as if you made no effort to see him, it lends to a feeling of worthlessness to a child. They feel I'm not even a worthwhile enough person for my own father to come to see me.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 20-year-old Amy Bond is suing her former fiancé, Thomas Wheelock, because she says he stopped making the payments on a car loan which she co-signed. Thomas says he only stopped when Amy refused to give him the car.
Just tell me what your side of the story is. I'm a pretty good judge of the truth of things.
She would, for the first 3 months that we split up, she had this attitude that she didn't want Brandon. So she'd always tell me, sending me pager messages, that she didn't want him. And then she'd leave him.
Listen.
And if I can get a letter from my parents, they would tell you that, but they're just afraid they won't be able to see Brandon anymore.
If you made a mistake with each other, put a period at the end of that and say, I have to move on with my life, but this was a mistake. We were 20 years old. 20 years old, you're still babies. You have a child. You have to act responsibly towards the child. If you made a mistake in picking him, and if you made a mistake in picking her as the mother of your child and he is the father of your child, that's not the baby's fault. You, sir, have a responsibility to see your child. And that doesn't mean in a controlled environment. Does he have a drug problem?
No.
He just has keeping a job problem, right?
And keeping promises. If he says he's going to show up to see his son, I expect him to be there.
Well, when you say see his son, I assume you don't mean seeing him in your home.
No, I go to, when he was living with his friends, we went to his parents' house, a mutual place. His parents...
You mean to just drop the child off?
I stayed there.
Why?
I don't know.
Well, Miss Bond, we're going to talk about that. I mean, I'm not interested in this car. This car is in your possession. You're going to have to sell this car, and if you have a loss and then you want to refile your case about the car, that's your prerogative. But you can't have the car and the money, too. Do you understand?
Yes.
Fine. But let's get back to this baby, because while the car is important, it's not half as important as the two of you and how you're going to interact with this child. Miss Bond, you just said to me, I don't know why I stay there when he has visitation. You should not be there. You two people clearly don't like each other anymore. I don't think that there's open hostility, perhaps. I don't see that, but there might be. he should have an opportunity, unless there's some reason of drugs, alcohol, some kind of chemical dependency that might place the child at risk, he should have an opportunity to spend time with his child with you not present. He's the father. And maybe if he felt better about himself, taking some responsibility time-wise with his child, maybe he wouldn't think he's such a bum. And you may be, sir, just that. But you have a responsibility when it comes to visiting your child, because that's right for your son. Quite frankly, I don't give two hoots for the two of you. You made the mistake. But by compounding that, it seems to me you're going to hurt this child, because as he gets older, he's going to wonder where his father is. And all he's got to figure is that you made it difficult for his father to see him, then he's going to be angry with you, right?
Yeah.
And if he feels as if you made no effort to see him, he's not only going to be angry with you, but it lends to a feeling of worthlessness to a child. They feel, I'm not even a worthwhile enough person for my own father to come to see me. Think that's fair?
No.
He's the innocent. As young as you are, you did a very grown-up thing by making a baby. And it's your responsibility to see to it that this child does not grow up with a feeling of worthlessness because his own father doesn't want to see him. Take care of it.
What about the loss of the car that I've already incurred already?
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today...
Come on! Get it
did, Your
together,
Honor.
Mr. Bassett.
That's the truth.
You think I have stupid written over here?
No, I don't know.
Good.
Judy is ready to rule.
All right. You have a $2,000 bill from the time you separated until this time, and I'm going to give you that. But that's all you're getting, because you have to either give the car back to him or you have to sell it, and whatever loss there is, it'll be absorbed. At that point, you do not have an anticipatory loss. You have a loss that you can put a number on. I have a $3,000 loss. Now I feel as if you have to contribute to that. But Ms. Bourne, he says that if you give him back the car, he will assume the payments for it. So that's what I think that you should do. Give him back the car. Mr. Wheelock, for a 20-year-old guy to say I'm a bum is a terrible thing. I don't know what kind of upbringing you had, but as a parent, if your parents permitted you to grow up to your age thinking that you're a bum, that they didn't do a terrific job, you better do a better job with your son. Because if you think you're a bum, unless you do something positive right now with a child that's 2 years old, your son will grow up thinking the same thing about himself, because that's what happens, and that's not fair. You don't seem as if you're a stupid young man. You've done some stupid things. So shape up, and when he has visitation, you don't have to be there, because that's control, and that's not fair. You're each parents, but you both have to act responsibly, and you better start paying some child support, sir. Now. That's all.
Excuse me, step out. Back go to your records.
And now the next case.
Party's on Stevenson versus Bassett. Step forward, please.
20-year-old Melissa Stevenson says her ex-boyfriend, 23-year-old Grant Bassett, didn't pay her the money she loaned him to purchase a car. Grant claims Melissa was not his girlfriend, and the money for the car was a gift.
You two folks were an item, dated, were romantically involved. Do you claim you lent him money for a truck? Is that right?
That is correct.
No. We were not romantically involved. Or
Just a second.
couple.
She claims that you were romantically involved as a couple, and she lent you money for a truck, which you bought. You say she gave you an old truck of hers, and it was a loan.
Yes, ma'am.
And it got towed.
Yes, ma'am.
So, those are two diametrically opposed stories. Let's hear about it, Miss Stevenson.
Grant and I were friends and dating for 4 months. Grant had decided to take a job out of state in Arizona, and I was all for him doing that because it was a career advancement, and he did not have a vehicle, so he had no way of getting there.
So we had batted back and forth the idea of me loaning him the money to purchase a truck. And he looked through the auto trader and he found what he wanted. And I came down with a Visa check, you know how you can draw money off your account, and we were going to go purchase this truck. What happened is they wouldn't take the check, they wanted cash, so I went in, got a cash advance off my credit card for $3,500, and we purchased the truck.
Go ahead.
So Grant leaves for Arizona, takes the truck with him, and we had a verbal agreement that he would make double payments on whatever my minimum balance was on the credit card. So first month goes by, I get a couple checks in the mail. I was, oh great, I can pay my payment. I was happy about that. And the next month rolls by, we talked on the phone, and I said, are you going to send me some money this month? And he was having trouble paying his bills, and he stopped sending me any money. Pretty much every month I called him, send me $50, send me something so I can pay my credit card bill. I'm a struggling student trying to pay my bills here too. Nothing came of that. No money was sent. I kept on him, and...
That's it? That's where we are right now?
Basically, yes.
All right, Mr. Bassett.
Okay. What happened is I left for Arizona, and Melissa had a truck, so she lent me her truck because I was going to move out of state. I did not want to purchase another vehicle in California and have to move to Arizona, reside, have to pay the registration fees. So my first 2 weeks in the academy, I bought a vehicle. So her vehicle sat at the apartment that me and my partner were sharing, and it wasn't registered in either one of our names. We could not re-register it. They couldn't pass smog. The axles were bent, so it got towed away.
Mr. Bassett, you just told me a story that is totally different from hers. You understand
Yes, Your Honor. I was never there during the transaction. I don't know where she got the money. I don't know where she got the vehicle.
Can I see your transactions, please?
Sure. Your Honor, I have some other things that will help verify my story. Grant was about to move back from Arizona, and I called him up. I said, listen, we're friends. Why would you do this to me? I want some proof that you're going to pay me back when you can. And I said, would you be willing to sign a contract stating you owe me the money? And he said, yeah, I'm your friend. I'll do that. I just jotted down that he did owe me the money, that he had given me a payment already on it, and that he would have to pay. I was getting really frustrated by this time. I had been paying on it for over a year and paying interest, 18% on my credit card. That's ridiculous.
Show him this, please. Ask him. Mr. Bassett, is that your signature on that loan agreement?
Yes, Your Honor, it is. And if you notice, their coincidence just happened to be on my birthday.
Happy birthday, sir.
Yeah.
Is that your signature?
Exactly. I was happy birthday.
I didn't know it was his birthday.
You signed that?
Yes.
So?
So she showed up on my birthday. All my friends were there, so I just signed it just to get her out of there.
Get out of here. Give this to me.
Your Honor?
Get out, just a second. Am I correct that you went to Arizona in order to become a police officer?
Yes, that's correct.
Corrections officer in a jail.
Just a second. Being a corrections officer, similar as far as I'm concerned to being a police officer.
Yes, ma'am.
You're supposed to be able to rely on what you say to me, Mr. Bassett. You don't sign something like this and then come and tell me this grandma story that it was your birthday and you just signed anything. Come on. Get it together, Mr. Bassett.
That's the truth.
You think I have stupid written over here?
No, I don't, ma'am.
Good.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Balance of the loan is how much, madam?
About a little over $4,900.
All right. Let me tell you what I have, sir. Let me tell you what proof I have today. Aside from just hearing these two stories, which, could be written from two different novels, I have proof that she withdrew the money from the bank. I have the fact that there was a car or a truck. And I have a signed statement from you with a signature that I have compared to your signature on your answer, and also you acknowledge that you signed that you owe her the money. That's the proof I have. Right?
Yes.
Stands up to me. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $4,900. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
This is West. Step forward, please.
54-year-old Jim Knoll is suing Gary West, a salesman from Fullerton, California. Jim's son Ty says that while driving his father's new Ford Explorer, Gary's son Jared was horsing around with the four-wheel drive controls and caused $1,300 in damages to the truck.
Order, all rise.
Yeah, this is case number 127 on the calendar in the matter of Nowell versus West. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Have a seat, please.
Mr. Nowell, you are the owner of a four-wheel drive truck kind of car.
Ford Explorer.
According to your complaint, your 16-year-old son, that's you, sit up, was driving this four-wheel drive truck, and the defendant's son, that's you, was a, you sit down.
Okay, sorry.
Was a passenger in the front seat. According to your complaint, this young man damaged your car by pressing some sort of a button.
To change it from two-wheel drive to four-wheel drive while the car was in motion. Truck was in motion. Yeah.
And you say that because of that, there was damage to the car, $1,300 worth.
Yeah, it was in perfect working condition until the boys went for a 15-minute ride to the Del Taco.
Okay. You weren't in the car.
No.
Now up. What's your name?
Kai.
How long have you been driving?
About 2 months.
How long were you driving at the time that you had this young man as a passenger?
A couple days.
Days.
Yeah.
Who else was in the car other than the two of you?
Those two guys, Jeff and Chris.
So there were four of you all together.
Right.
So tell me what happened. You get in the car and your friends get in the car and you decide to take a little spin.
We were going to Del Taco to get dinner, and we were just, you know, driving, and Jared decided he wanted to push the four-wheel drive button. So he kept hitting it, and I asked him to stop, and I told him to stop, and I slapped his hand away and tried to make him stop, but he's bigger than me, and I was trying to drive and do it at the same time, so.
Why didn't you stop the car?
Because I thought he was, I don't know.
Did you have any sense that that would damage the car?
I thought it would do it if he did it enough, but I didn't think it would do that much damage.
You wanted to say something, sir?
Yeah, basically, you know, his friend was in the back seat, and he's not a friend with the defendant, Jared West. And so there's little intimidations, a new group of friends. He was trying to be in that thing, so he didn't just stop. He came home to us and told us when it happened, and that's the first thing he said to us was how disappointed he was that he let us down. He said they should have stopped the vehicle and just kicked him out. That's what he told us, and he was crying.
Right.
He was crying. He knew he didn't do the right thing.
Okay.
But he tried to do the right thing, but he didn't stop the car.
Your name?
Jared West, Your Honor.
So you're driving as a passenger in this car?
Yes, I was.
Do you drive?
Yes.
What kind of a car do you drive?
1993 Pontiac Trans Am.
What were you fooling around with the buttons for?
Well, what he forgot to mention was that on the way to Del Taco, he stopped off and he was driving through a grassy knoll and hopped a couple curbs and stuff. And I figured since he was going over a grassy knoll...
Going over a grassy knoll?
What
does that look like?
There was like a park-type area behind a Save-On drugstore.
Mm-hmm.
And he had jumped over a curb and went onto the grass. And I figured since he was going on the grass and stuff that he might want to be on four-wheel drive. And then he said he didn't want to, you know, he didn't want me to do it. And then it just, I'm sorry to say, it sort of turned into a game after that. And I shouldn't have done it. You know, I realize that.
Don't put your hands up, sir. You weren't there. Did you go over a grassy knoll and go over some curbs when you were driving this car?
Yes.
Why'd you do that for?
I just made a mistake.
So it sounds to me as if both of you boys were acting irresponsibly with this car. Is that right?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes, I agree.
Well, Mr. Knoll, this isn't a very, very difficult situation, sir. Some damage was caused to your car. I assume you have the bills to show me what the damage was. Is that right?
Yes, the car's in perfect
Mr. West,
working
I don't even need to
condition,
speak to you.
Yes, you do.
Well, just a second. Okay. The reason I don't need to speak to you, sir, is because you originally, according to these papers that I received, spoke to Mr. Knoll, and at that time you said to him, pretty much, that both boys were wrong, and that you were prepared to pay for half the damage that was caused to the car.
I did some brief investigation before I made that offer. After they declined my offer, I had to do some further investigations, which I can show the court now, which show that what my son did not cause damage to that car.
Oh, well, I'd like to hear that, sir.
Here's a copy of the Ford Motor Company manual. And in the Ford Motor Company manual, if I may read it,
Sure.
it says to you, it says, the spin on the transmission transverse case on this 1991 Ford Explorer allows the shift between second high and four-wheel high to be made at any vehicle speed. Your Honor, once the car is engaged in four-wheel drive, the way you disengage this car from four-wheel drive is to back the car up in reverse. So by pressing the vehicle four-wheel drive button once, twice, or many times, it doesn't disengage from four-wheel drive until you back the car up, and that's how it disengages. So once you pressed it one time, it was in four-wheel drive, and it continued four-wheel drive until they later came to Jack in the Box. At that point, they backed up and they heard a ratcheting type sound from the vehicle. That's when it was coming out of four-wheel drive.
Can I see the estimates that you have, please?
May I say something else, Your Honor?
Sure.
Chris is here to identify or to be witness to the fact that Ty has taken this vehicle to different parking lot locations, jumping curbs and parking barriers that he failed to mention to his dad also.
Mr. West, I wasn't there. You weren't there.
Correct.
This young man did something wrong. He's acknowledged that he did something wrong. Your son acknowledged that he did something wrong. They both did something wrong because they were playing around with a very expensive piece of equipment that neither one of them bought or paid for, belonged to the plaintiff. Now, your mistake, Mr. Knoll, was that when you write here, the defendant offered a 50% settlement, which we rejected as a matter of principle since we didn't contribute in any way to the damage. That was a mistake. Your son contributed to the damage. He contributed to the damage in either one of two ways. Either because he, in fact, drove the car recklessly, and or he did not, at the moment that this young man decided to push the buttons on the car that he knew was wrong, he didn't take care of this expensive piece of property the way he should have, which was to stop the car and say, get out of the car. There's nothing to say. Anything that you say, sir, is going to be an excuse, which is wrong.
No, it's the truth. You're listening to some here, and I can't allow that to
Just,
happen.
Mr. Knoll,
I just need to have my say, that's all.
I'm not listening to anything. I'm not listening to what Ford Motor Company says, sir. I'm listening to what these two young men said.
Well,
and both of these boys seem to acknowledge that when they took your car out, they both did the wrong thing.
There's some lies over here, though. You haven't allowed him to speak what he saw.
Just a second. I listened to him. Let me tell you what he said, Mr. Knoll.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And later today,
If you buy them on the black market, you run the risk of getting tickets that are bogus. Now you know that, right?
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jim Knoll says his 16-year-old son, Ty, was driving his 1991 Ford Explorer when Gary West's son, Jared, unexpectedly threw the truck into four-wheel drive, causing $1,300 worth of damage. Gary says he doesn't believe what Jared did could have caused that kind of damage and refuses to pay for the repairs.
He said, one, he drove the car over grassy knolls, up and down curbs, and he knew that was wrong.
No, one curb.
You weren't there, sir. You better stop making excuses for your son. He seems like a very honest young man. You
So
keep
am I.
making excuses for him, and I guarantee you, you're teaching him a very bad lesson. He's standing here, he's being truthful.
So am I.
No, you're not, because
Yeah.
you weren't there. You're making excuses. And if you were savvy and know what was going on, how many children do you have?
2.
How old are they?
25, 16.
25-year-olds, a boy or a girl?
Girl.
Now you have a 16-year-old son. 16-year-old boys, when they're given a hot car, react differently than 16-year-old girls. So this is your first experience with a teenage son, right? Trust me, I've had 3 teenage sons. They all act like they're 4 years old, especially when they're in a car for the first time. 2 days he's had a license so that he could drive by himself. 2 days, and you give him your car. Stop making excuses for him, Mr. Knoll. The first, put your paper down, sir. Your son did the wrong thing. Without a 2-day trial with experts from Ford Motor Company and without mechanics here who were able to testify as to what the actual damage was and based upon their expertise what caused it, I have to rely on my sense of common sense and my, don't say a word, And my sense of common sense is that your son did the wrong thing and that his son did the wrong thing. And the only one who's getting stuck is him, because it's his car and he's got to pay the damage. So the damage to the car, and I am one lug nut. Let me just look through the rest of these things. Okay. The total damage to the car is $1,248. And, sir, I am awarding you $624, which is one half the cost of the damage, because I believe that both of these young men contributed to this damage. Both of them did the wrong thing with your precious piece of metal. And next time you won't do it. Do you understand?
I understand.
That's all. Thank you.
All right, Judge, you may step out. Out the back door to your right, please.
What my son did no damage to his car. I have nothing to say to this man. I don't care to shake your hand. I think you're a jerk.
Okay.
And now the next case.
Parties on Shank versus Beckman. Step forward, please.
18-year-old Troy Shank bought Metallica tickets from 26-year-old Robert Beckman. Troy didn't have the cash, so he gave Robert a guitar for collateral. Now Troy claims the tickets were bogus and wants his guitar back.
Mr. Shank, you wanted to see a concert.
Yes.
What concert was it?
It was a Metallica concert.
A what?
Metallica.
Metallica. What is that?
It's a group. Heavy metal band.
Why did you want to see that?
I like them.
According to your complaint, sir, the defendant here had some tickets for this Metallica
Yes.
concert. You wanted 3 tickets,
Yes.
but you didn't have any money.
Correct.
So you gave him a guitar as collateral for the
Correct.
tickets. What was the purchase price that you agreed on for the tickets?
$50 a piece. I wanted 3, so $150.
And you gave him the guitar.
Correct.
What happened?
It turned out later that the...
You went to the concert.
Yes.
What happened when you got there?
We went to the front. We showed them our passes and stuff, and they said that they were counterfeit, and they questioned us thoroughly where we got them, blah, blah, blah. They took the tickets from us and didn't let us in. They kicked us out.
That was when you went to present them to the ticket taker.
Correct.
So you asked him for the guitar back.
No, after that night, I came home and paged Robert, and he never called me. I paged him previous lots of times for a numerous of probably 6 months, and he never called me back.
Yes.
Do you want to hear my side now? Okay, what it was is I gave him these tickets and he gave me the guitar as collateral.
I understand that.
he
Let's
did
go
not-
back a little further. Where did you get the tickets from?
I purchased them off of a student at Saddleback College.
And what did you pay for the tickets?
I paid $100 a piece for them. And then he wasn't supposed to owe me $150. He was supposed to owe me $350. The problem was he was supposed to be a week before the concert. After the concert, I finally get this letter of court. He calls me and says, well, do you have any, like a VCR or TV or anything you can give me as collateral? I said, why? You know, you didn't, how do I know you didn't get into the show? I got on the show, my girlfriend got on the show, my brother got on the show. How do I know you did not get in?
You may have had somebody who let you in and wasn't looking carefully. They didn't. They had a problem.
I don't understand. I don't understand how they could have a problem.
They had a problem, sir.
Out of all the people that I know that went, everyone got in but them.
When you buy tickets from the concert itself, when you go up to the gate and give them money and buy tickets, then you know you're getting legitimate tickets. If you buy them on the black market, which is from somebody at school, you run the risk of getting tickets that are bogus. Now you know that, right?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
What do you want to be when you grow up?
I'm not sure yet. A lawyer.
I would suggest you not decide on the ministry, sir.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Troy Shank claims the concert tickets he got from Robert Beckman were counterfeit. He wants the replacement value of a guitar he gave him for collateral.
I believe the fact that you didn't get in with these tickets, and the law is very clear. You had a contract. You were going to pay the money to go to the concert.
Correct.
That's your contract. They didn't get into the concert, and therefore they got nothing in return for their money or their guitar, so you have to give them back the guitar. Do you understand?
I don't have the guitar anymore.
Why not?
I sold it for the money that they owed me.
They didn't owe you any money.
Well, what
Let me see the receipt.
I don't have the receipt.
You don't have the receipt, you don't have the guitar. When did you sell the guitar?
Probably about a month after the concert.
But they buzzed you, they paged you immediately.
Well, that night, I did not have my pager on me. I'd never take my pager to a concert. So, I mean, how would I return it?
You got as many excuses as Carter has pills, sir. I don't want to tell you something. Unless you straighten out, this isn't the last court you're going to be in. Do you understand what I'm saying to you?
Yes, I do. But the agreement was he was supposed to pay me a week before the concert. He did not pay me my money a week before the concert.
Well, let us assume.
So
let me tell you. Let me
it-
tell you why, Mr. Beckman. You're standing there and I'm sitting here. Let me explain why. If I believed your story that the concert tickets were more than what they claim, and if they paged you, you would have called them back lickety-split because you would have thought to yourself, he's calling to make arrangements to pay me the money that he owes me. That's what would have gone on in my head if somebody owed me money. I better answer this page right away because I want to get my money. You, however, didn't have a page. You lost your page. You were busy. It was raining. It was snowing. A whole bunch of other excuses why you didn't return his page. And the truth of the matter is you knew that there was trouble. Because there's no other reason for you not to have returned this page. All right. So you're guilty as charged. Now, the next question I have is, this bill for $1,000 for a guitar seems to me inflated. So let's talk about it.
Okay. The guitar,
How much did you pay for the guitar and when?
I paid $748 for it.
Let me see the bill.
I do not have the receipt. My mom is here to testify. She's the one who bought it.
Fine. I'd like to hear from her. You sit down. Could you step up, please?
I have a...
Don't give me A. You have a mother.
Okay.
Mothers, I believe. Tell me your name.
Hi, I'm Anita Shank, Troy's mother.
Did you purchase this guitar?
Yes, I did.
And when did you purchase it for him?
In '95.
How much did you pay for it?
Approximately $800.
He says $748. Does that sound right?
Yes.
Okay. You look like a nice young man who may have a bright future. Don't try to be a shortcut artist.
Well,
it never pays off, sir.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Your Honor, may I say something?
Sure.
Okay. When I gave him the guitar, it was in a guitar case, and inside that case was a guitar tuner, a guitar pedal, and a metronome, which I have the retail value, and that's why I sued for $1,000. It came over all that stuff that I gave him.
Why did you give him all that stuff?
The guitar was in a guitar case, and the guitar case has like a little pouch. I just keep my guitar stuff in there, and that was the only thing worth value. I just gave him the whole set. So that's why I'm suing for $1,000.
Did it have all of that equipment in it?
I don't know.
What?
I didn't even bother to look in it.
Oh.
I mean, it was just collateral for the tickets, you know?
That's why I was suing
No,
for $1,000.
I understand it was collateral for the tickets, but again, you want me to believe that somebody gave you collateral, you sold it, and when you sold it, you didn't open up the case, didn't show it to anybody.
I looked in it. I mean, it just had like the strap for the guitar and, you know, little whammy things for the guitar and stuff like that.
Do you go to school?
Yes, I do.
College?
Yeah.
What do you mean? Yeah. What is yeah?
Yes. Yes, Your Honor.
What do you want to be when you grow up?
I'm not sure yet. A lawyer.
I would suggest you not decide on the ministry, sir. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount requested, $1,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the 42-year-old Wayne McNeil is suing his former lover, 29-year-old Jason Brickhouse. Wayne says when he and Jason broke up, Jason didn't pay his share of the rent or the money Wayne loaned to him. Jason claims he paid him.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is number 125 on the calendar in the matter of McNeil versus Brickhouse. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You're welcome. You may be seated.
All right. According to these papers, the two of you were in a
domestic partnership arrangement for quite some time. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
That arrangement, relationship is over. You claim, Mr. McNeil, that the defendant owes you almost $3,500.
That's correct.
Do you want to explain to me for what, sir?
We were in a relationship which parted in 1995, and Jason moved out, and he went through some problems and things, and towards the end of 1995, he didn't have anywhere to go. He couldn't afford to pay his rent and things like that, so I entered into an agreement with him that he could move in with me on the proviso.
How long had you been separated at that time, sir?
From June through December of 1995.
And how did it come about that he told you he was having these problems?
He called me one day at my office and said that he had lost his job, he'd been fired from his job, and would I go pick him up? And
does that sound familiar to you, sir?
No, that's not the way it happened, Your Honor. Mr. McNeil stayed in contact with me when he moved out, always. Was always in contact with me. And
but you were
more...
not together anymore?
No, it was more of a friendship. It wasn't like I called him because I lost my job.
Did you make an arrangement to move back into his home?
Yes, I did.
And what was the financial arrangement?
We split everything.
Was that how it was right from the beginning when you moved back in?
I was a little bit behind. I went back to work in May.
When did you move in?
January.
So you went back to work in May?
Correct.
So you owed him rent for January, February, March, April, and I assume part of May. Is that right? 5 months?
But I paid it. But that would be the most.
How did you pay it if you weren't working?
He received my unemployment checks, and also I was temping. I did do work here and there
what
during that
were
time.
your unemployment checks?
$200.
A what?
Every 2 weeks or something.
Did you receive any of his unemployment checks?
I never received any of his unemployment checks. In fact, he always came up with excuses. And just as an example, one day he called me and in tears on the telephone that he'd been down to cash his unemployment check at a cash checking place on Santa Monica and La Brea. He'd walked out with the cash and he'd been mugged.
Does that sound familiar to you?
No, that doesn't. I don't know what he's talking about.
That's the absolute truth.
I believe you, sir.
And I have people.
I believe you.
Thank you.
How much was the arrangement for rent?
Half of the rent. The rent at that time was $505, and he was going to pay $250. And also, as part of the agreement, it was basically just rent. And the rent actually included utilities and all that sort of thing. I never ever asked him for like food or if we were ever
All
going.
you wanted was the $250 a month. How many months did he live there?
From January through March this year. That's what, 12, 15 months?
And how much did he pay you during those 15 months?
He paid me, it was a total of about $2,000. Did you get a copy of this?
No,
with
I have
the
nothing,
payments?
sir. I just have your complaint and his answer.
I've got that's a copy of the whole thing with the actual payments that he did make me, and those payments weren't made until he had gone back to work at his place of employment.
All right, well, certain of the monies were repaid. The rent was repaid, $2,000 worth. You have a whole list of things. Checks written fraudulently and cashed?
Yes.
What is that about?
On September 8th last year, we got into an argument and I was actually arrested. He had already been arrested previously
for what?
For domestic violence.
I mean, you had a physical fight.
And during that time, part of the judge actually asked him to move out of my apartment. And during that week that I was actually in jail for that week, when I got back...
Why were you in jail for a whole week?
I think it was a mess with the judicial system at the jail
You mean they
downtown.
forgot about you?
I think so. So anyway, that's a whole other point. When I got back, 3 checks were written out of my checking account. He knew that I got paid during the time that I was in jail, and he wrote and cashed 3 checks to the value of $550 on my checking account.
Did you do that, sir?
Yes, I did, but I did not forge them. They were signed already.
Well, did you have permission to cash them?
No, I didn't have permission.
Well, then how come you did that?
I was mad at him. But, Your Honor, that money was paid back. You know, all this money that he's claiming.
Show me where it was paid back.
It was not, I don't have any receipts because I have tax liens against me. Everything I do is in cash. And I have a witness who is my current roommate now that will testify that I pay everything in cash, my utility bills, my rent, everything, because I can't open a checking account.
You can get money orders. You don't have to have a checking account, sir.
But I'm in a domestic relationship partner, Your Honor.
No,
I just give
weren't.
him the cash.
No, you weren't, sir. At the time that we're talking about, this domestic partnership had terminated and we were in a situation of a landlord and a tenant with regard to certain bills.
No, Your Honor, we weren't.
Well, you told me that.
He was still, at this time when this happened, we were still living in the same household, and he was still pretending to be my lover.
I don't understand.
Your Honor, I could witness that.
Excuse me, Your Honor.
They would come to my house in the desert as lovers. They would come to stay in my house in the desert.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You have a new friend. Ask him for money. What are you calling him?
He's not a new friend.
No.
I've known him for 10 years.
Fine, ask him for money.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 42-year-old Wayne McNeil is suing his former lover, 29-year-old Jason Brickhouse, alleging when they broke up, Jason didn't pay his share of the rent. Jason claims he paid the money in cash.
There are a lot of things charged here. Gas, gasoline. Why does he have your American Express card?
He took it from
When?
me. I have no idea. He used my American Express card to pay for a public storage unit in January of last year. I have no idea how he got
Just a second. Sir, let me tell you why I have a problem with that. Because you have different dates here, but they're over a many-month period, so that when you saw the first bill for gas signed by him...
No, the gas and everything I did. I don't have a motor vehicle. He has a car, and because he never had any money, he was always asking me to put gas in his car because his job is during the weekends. He used to do deliveries for a messenger service, and he never had money to put gas in his car, so I would put gas in his car. And he always said that he would pay me back. This whole thing started...
No, that's nonsense. Come on. Let's talk about big things. Let's not talk about $11 for gas.
But it adds up.
Of course it adds up, sir, and if you didn't want to do it, you wouldn't have done it. And it went over a long enough period of time so that you could have said at any time, if these were loans, listen, you have to give me back the $11, the $4, the $14. Come on, let's get serious.
He was always saying, I would pay you when I get paid.
Let's
I
get
would pay
serious.
you when I get paid, and he never would.
Let's take care of the big things first. There is an agreement to pay $250 in rent over a 15-month period. I can't work these things.
$3,750, Judge.
And you say he paid you $2,000.
If that's what,
now,
yeah.
Did he pay you $2,000 in cash or check?
He paid me in cash.
Can I speak now?
Sure.
Your Honor, this whole relationship, I don't have receipts. I paid in cash. That's why I brought a witness in that will tell. That's what I do. I pay in cash.
I don't care if that's what your parent is. He already said to you, you paid him in cash. He acknowledges that you paid him $2,000 in cash.
But
I don't care if that's what this witness is going to tell me.
He is lying.
Your witness is going to say that you pay all your bills by cash.
Right. Well, but they were also in a relationship together.
Yeah.
It wasn't just roommates.
Listen to me. Just answer the questions that I posed to you.
Okay, Your Honor, this went on for a long period of time. I have a restraining order against Mr. McNeil. On June 22nd of this year, Mr. McNeil started pounding on my door at 3 o'clock in the morning drunk. I threatened to call the police and have him thrown in jail. This case was filed on June 23rd. It's nothing more than harassment and retaliation because I don't want anything to do with them. That's all it is.
Go ahead, Mr. McNeil.
Okay. The whole reason that this case is here today is because on June 13, Jason called me and said, can you give me $20? I have no food in the house. I said, no, I'm not going to give you $20, Jason. He said, I'll pay you back on Monday when I get paid. I said, I still can't give you the money. So I left to go out with some friends, and I went upstairs and I gave him $5. When I got home that night, I called him up and I left a message on his machine. It was about 10 o'clock at night, and admittedly, it was a little sarcastic. It was the fact that, you know, you're obviously out drinking the $5 that I gave you, because he had also been sick all week during the week with stomach problems and things. So that was it. On Monday night, I went upstairs. He goes to a domestic violence class on Monday nights, which I've paid for the last 3 months, $40 every time when he hasn't got the $40 to pay for it. and knocked on his door. He comes to the door. He'd also been drinking. He said, "I'm not very pleased with you." I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "You leave nasty messages on my answer machine. I know I owe you money. I'll put it in an envelope and leave it under your door."
And I did. I left $65 in an envelope under his door after I got paid.
No,
and
you
I
did
said,
not.
from this point on,
Why?
leave me alone.
No.
Just get out of my life and leave me alone.
Was there any money left under your door?
No, there was not.
Yes, there was.
There was not.
Sir, why are you still calling him for money?
I thought we could be friends, but
You know,
obviously we couldn't.
You're a user.
No.
I want to tell you something. You're a user. Because if you're not together anymore and you have a new friend...
You want to ask him
Shut
why he... Sorry.
You have a new friend. Ask him for money. What are you calling
He's
him?
not a new friend.
No.
I've known him for 10 years. We are just roommates.
Fine, ask him for money.
He won't pay him.
Why you...
He won't lend him money. Sorry.
You're a user because...
I disagree with you, Your Honor.
Well,
He
you may
used
disagree
me.
with me, but since I'm the judge, I get the last word.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
Whatever she did was an accident if she transgressed on your rights as a pedestrian. What you did was a purposeful act of vandalism.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
There are certain things that I find were agreements between the two of you, and that was that when he moved back in, he was supposed to pay rent. Rent was $250 a month. I believe you when you say that he paid $2,000 of that $3,750 amount that he was supposed to pay. So I have $1,750 left that he owes you. I also want to ask you one question, just you. Did he pay you back this $550 that he wrote in forged checks?
No, he didn't.
I believe that too, that he did not pay you back. So I'm adding that. That's $2,300. Do you understand? That's what I'm giving you.
Okay.
Don't give him any more money.
Don't worry, I'm not.
Good. Judgment in the case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,300. That's all.
Pardon are excused. You may step out.
Thank you.
Out the back door to your right, please.
When he's been drinking, he gets violent, and
I don't know where this is coming from, but this is ridiculous.
Excuse me, Michael.
And now the next case.
Party's on. Kirk versus Schwartz. Step forward, please.
Danielle Kirk says bookkeeper Ronit Schwartz bagged her car with a bag of groceries. Ronit says she only touched the car as Danielle drove recklessly through the parking lot.
Ms. Kirk, you allege in your papers that the defendant damaged your car when she hit it intentionally with a bag of groceries.
That is correct.
Want to tell me where you were and how this happened, please?
On July the 9th, I was backing out of a parking spot at the Pavilions shopping center, and I was 2/3 of the way out of the lot when I noticed
Out
that
of the lot or out of the...
out of a parking space, when I noticed that the defendant had stepped behind my car with a small child. So I stopped and let her proceed behind my car, and as she crossed in front of my car to get to her car, she stopped and started yelling obscenities and whatnot. So I just looked at her. I didn't say anything. I made no gestures to her. She finished crossing in front of my car and started walking towards her car, and I turned my car and proceeded to try and exit the lot. When the car behind me honked, she turned and swung a bag of groceries and hit the side of my car.
The car behind you?
Was honking at me to leave, but I couldn't leave because she was standing in front of my car. So as I went to leave, she turned and swung and hit my car.
All right, let me try to understand this. There were rows of parked cars.
Correct.
You're backing out of the spot.
Yes.
The defendant and her child were walking and were behind your car, so you stopped.
Yes.
Then you say she came around to the front of your car.
Yes, she
Well,
was crossing in front of my car to get to her car.
So then you finished pulling out, so your car was backed out.
Correct.
And sort of with the nose heading towards the exit.
Right.
And she was at this point in front of your car.
Mm-hmm.
So you couldn't move.
Right.
And then a car behind you that was also trying to exit, you said...
They wanted my spot. They wanted to pull into the spot that I was leaving out of.
Okay, so they honked.
Right.
And then she swung her bag of
And
groceries.
she turned and swung and hit the side of my car.
Did you hear it?
Yes.
What did it sound like?
It was a loud thump. There was something heavy in her bags.
Okay. Did you get out and look at the car at that time?
Yes, I did.
And what did you see?
I saw a dent behind the passenger side door where the door opens, and I showed it to her.
Okay. And you got out, and then what happened?
I asked her why she did it. She admitted that she did it. At first, she said she swung a bag of groceries. Then she said she hit her hand on my car. Then she changed the story the third time and said it was just a box of cereal. But
Did she say why she did it?
No, she did not.
You have an estimate for the damage?
Yes, I do.
Can I see it, please?
Mm-hmm.
Ms. Schwartz, you want to tell me your version of these events, please?
Yes. I was walking with my daughter on, there were 2 lanes of cars with their backs to us on the left side of the lane. I was walking and her car came out. We were there and her car came out of the parking spot and I grabbed my daughter and moved back. Then she started proceeding, not letting me go first. She started proceeding and I said, wait a minute, hold it, because we were there. Then she made kind of motions that we could walk in front of her car, and we started walking in front of her car, and she proceeded to go. It's like, you know, she didn't really give us enough time. Then she passed us, and I was behind the car already, and I turned around with, my 8-year-old had 2 bags, and I had 2 bags, and I turned around to yell something because I was angry. And then all of a sudden she pulled over, she blocked my car where I was. And then she started saying, you hit my car, you deliberately hit my car.
Well, you did hit her car with your groceries.
Not intentionally.
No, Mrs.
Absolutely.
Schwartz, that's not true.
Yes, it is true.
No.
Yes, it is
You were
true.
no, Mrs. Schwartz. You were angry, and you hit her car with the groceries. There's no
I did not deliberately hit her
sure
car
you
with
did.
my groceries. I turned her car around. Her car was already past me. I had my daughter's. I had 2 bags of groceries. She had 2 bags of groceries, plus I was holding her hand. Because on 3 separate times she wouldn't let us.
In order to cause a dent in the car of over $400, you had to accidentally whip around.
that I didn't cause
Not,
that
madam,
dent.
just turn around so that the bag of groceries taps it. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I understand you perfectly.
I understand what you're saying, but I never was near the passenger side of her car. I was behind it when she had already stopped, and I never deliberately attacked her with my groceries.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Mrs. Schwartz, judges are only human beings. We don't deal with computers, so you have to rely on what is common sense.
Mm-hmm.
And our own human experience. And having driven myself in parking lots, been a pedestrian on the street, I can't tell you that, especially when I'm in New York City, how many taxi cabs I would like to hit with a heavy object. You remember those days?
Oh, Judge, I know.
Right? Because you feel as if people are being inconsiderate, people are not being careful enough behind the wheel, and you want to be able to respond to it. Mrs. Schwartz, you lost your temper. You owe her $432.69. Whatever she did was an accident if she transgressed on your rights as a pedestrian. What you did was a purposeful act of vandalism that's going to cost you $432. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
Cornell, step forward, please.
Curtis Dean Smith says she loaned her ex-fiancé, Albert Johnson, her car. While Albert was driving, his new fiancée, Sharitha Cornell, smashed into it, but she denies it.
Order, all rise. Quiet, please. Your Honor, it's number 147 on the calendar in the matter of Smith versus Cornell. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, sir.
Are you Albert?
Ma'am.
Didn't you know you were coming to court today?
Yes, ma'am.
So what are you wearing shorts for?
I thought it was, I'm saying it was going to be nice.
All right, Miss Smith.
Yes.
Albert over here, the one in the shorts, is the father of your daughter.
Yes.
And you're engaged to him now.
Right.
According to your complaint, you lent Albert your car.
Yes, I did.
And she hit your car.
Yes, she did.
You weren't in the car.
No.
She was in the car.
In her car.
And you were driving.
Yes, ma'am.
Objection, because she, I want to make a point that I have the statements from the officer that she gave her complaint to. She said that she was in the car, she was driving when this happened.
Okay, but she wasn't.
And she
And
also...
she was not, and she was not in the car.
Albert!
Uh-huh.
Stand up here. You want to stand on that side?
Shh. Order.
Tell me what happened when you borrowed her car.
I bought a car, then I had St. Cornell on Grand. So I had got out the car, I had parked her car in the front of her car.
You parked her car in front of her car.
Right. Then I had just put her car in reverse and backed up into her car.
Just a minute.
Why you lying?
Shut up. Miss Smith, I don't want you to say anything. I'm in charge here. Let me be in charge. I like being in charge. Get up here, Albert. Right up here. Shh. You borrowed her car. You saw her driving in her car. So far, am I right?
Yes.
Was her car parked or moving when you saw it?
Parked.
Was she in it?
No. She was in the store.
So what did you do?
I had one of my friends that told me they had seen her in her car. Then it was another guy driving that car. So I helped her buy the car that...
Don't tell me what your friend told me. You were annoyed.
Right. And I backed up into her car, with her car.
So you're telling me her car was parked?
Yes.
Your fiancée?
Yes.
And you pulled in front of the car, pulled into a parking space, and backed into it?
Yes.
That was pretty stupid. Wasn't it?
Yes.
Why would you do such a stupid thing?
Because I was mad because it was another guy driving her car.
Mm-hmm. Are you back together again now?
No, we together.
With her?
Yes.
You with the defendant, Miss Cornell?
Right.
Mm-hmm. So I gather you straightened it all out.
Mm-hmm.
That is a yes or a no?
Yes.
Uh-huh. How many times did you back her car into her car?
About twice.
Did you cause some damage to her car?
Yes.
How much damage?
I don't know how much damage was.
What do you do for a living?
I do the odds and ends.
What kind of odds and ends?
Paint, cut grass.
For cash?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Just you stay right there. What kind of car do you have?
A 92 Chevy Cavalier.
And you?
A 90 Chevy Cavalier.
Did you have your car fixed?
No, ma'am, I didn't.
Now, Miss Smith, do you have any objection to my adding Albert here as a co-defendant in your lawsuit?
No.
You know what that means?
No.
That means that I'm adding you as a co-defendant in this lawsuit, sir. That means that since you have just acknowledged to me that you caused the damage to the car, right?
Yes.
You should pay for it. Why are you looking at me with that blank stare, sir? What words didn't you understand that I said? You understand what I'm talking about? Hmm? Yeah. Because, Miss Smith, quite frankly, since they're back together again, I'm not going to get the truth out of him.
That's right.
Probably won't get the truth out of her.
Sure won't.
Because she was in the store.
I have a police report that she gave, since you won't get the truth out of me. She gave to the police an hour and some later after the accident. Her lie, since you can't get the truth out of me.
Miss Cornell, you don't understand, madam. Something is not getting through in your head. She wasn't in the car.
She said she was.
But you know she wasn't.
Okay, but she said she was.
What does that have to do with the damage to her car?
It has a lot to do with it. It has a whole lot to do with it. At the time of the accident, they were engaged. This was his fiance at the time of the accident. They had been broken up for 9 years. Prior
Just
to
do me a favor.
that.
Could you be quiet?
Yes, I can.
Good.
I surely can.
Step down over there next to
I
your
surely
fiance.
can be quiet.
All
I
right.
surely can.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You want to change the story? Huh? It's not an answer. Hey, quiet.
Cases, real people. Judge Judy. Curtis Dean Smith says she loaned her ex-fiancé, Albert Johnson, her car. While Albert was driving, his new fiancée, Sharitha Cornell, smashed into it.
Can I see the estimate for the car, please?
Okay, got it all.
The estimate for the car is $1,562. Is that right?
That's without it being painted. That's just to pull the dent out the trunk and the side and fix the bumper.
It ain't even no dent in her trunk.
Have you been in my trunk?
It's not even a
Have
dent.
you been in my trunk?
What's all this other stuff here?
That's to fix the car and to paint it.
You have insurance on this car?
Yes, I do.
How much did you get from your insurance for this?
At the present moment, when the car was hit, there wasn't any insurance on the car.
What? Excuse me?
Yes. I had dropped the insurance 2 months before the accident happened.
I see. So the insurance doesn't become effective until the 16th of May, and this accident occurred on May 4th. Is that right?
That's right.
And you had no insurance on the car prior to this?
That's right.
Okay. Albert! You better do a lot more odd jobs, sir, because you owe her for the damage that was done to her car. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Good. Now, Miss Cornell, you have a counterclaim. For what?
Because she lied and told the police that I hit her car while she was driving the car and he was in the car. The officer contacted me and told me what she had said. Told me that I would be arrested for first-degree assault because there was assault on her and she was pressing charges. Of course, I got very angry. I got stressed out. I had to be hospitalized due to that. You know, her lying, you know, and me finding out that I was going to have to go to jail. I also was jailed. I had to pay for someone to keep my children due to her lies.
Just a second. You were jailed when, madam?
I was jailed on the 20th of May.
Let me see the papers to prove that.
And then right after that, 3 days later, she called me looking for Albert because he supposedly ran off with her car again.
What does
and
that have
she
to do
had
with
him
this?
locked up. She
What
had
does
him
that have
locked
to
up
do
for
with
running
this?
off in her car. I'm not talking to you because you're not the
Hey,
judge.
listen.
Excuse me, Judge
I
Judy,
can't listen.
I
I can't listen.
I apologize.
Just a second.
apologize,
Just
Your
a
Honor.
second. You told the police that you were in the car.
Yes, I did.
Why did you do that?
When Albert had called me and told me that Sharitha had hit my car, I told him to call the police. Albert said he had a warrant on him for his arrest, so I told him to bring me my car. We went down to the police station and made a report, and I said I was the driver. I also went back.
So you lied to the police?
Yes, I did.
Well, you were also asked by the police whether or not you wished to press charges against her.
And I said yes, I did, because she hit my car.
But not only did she hit your car with you in it and then took off. Isn't that what you said?
Yes, that's what I said.
That caused her to be arrested. Do you know that?
Yes.
Hmm?
Mm-hmm. But I also went back to the police station, tried to change the report, and I couldn't locate the officer, so I talked to his supervisor, and he said just tell the judge that.
Well, by the time you got to tell the judge, she had already been arrested. How long did you spend in jail?
A day, Your Honor, a whole night.
Mm-hmm. That was the wrong thing to do.
I
You understand
know.
that?
Yes.
You're suing her for $1,250, is that right?
That is.
All right, not a difficult case. Albert, you are going to pay her, the plaintiff, $2,604, because that's what you said you caused in damage to her car. She doesn't have to pay for that if you're covering up for her, and if she actually hit the car and you're covering for her, then it's going to cost you $2,600. You understand me? You want to change the story? Huh?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I know you feel like crying.
State hospital, that's where she belongs.
Yeah,
you see what I'm
know
saying?
what? That's where you belong.
And later today,
Are you thick or what? There is a difference between your brother giving you a gift and a 17-year-old who you know has a crush on you.
cases, real people, Judge Judy. Albert Johnson borrowed his ex-fiancée, Curtis Dean Smith's car. She says that while he was driving, his current fiancée, Sharitha Cornell, ran into it.
You want to change the story?
No.
No. Okay. On the other hand, madam, it's going to cost you $1,250 because that's what she's suing for. You filed a false report. You two folks together?
Yes, we are.
Yes.
Well, then this makes it easy. You're only going to get $1,444 for your car. Do you understand that?
And why is that?
That's because I am deducting the $1,250.
Cool with me.
Cool with you?
Cool with me.
Perfect. That's all. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,444. I have deducted what you owe her for filing this false claim because this
Thank you,
lovely
Your
couple,
Honor.
this lovely couple is now together. I'm
That's
treating them
right.
as a couple.
And I'm going to send you an invitation to our wedding.
All these eyes, can you step out, please?
Make sure I put that in my date book.
She don't need that money to fix her car. She need that money to buy her a man.
Xin chào tất cả các bạn. Hôm nay là video này cô sẽ hướng dẫn cho các bạn viết và chúng ta sẽ làm quen với chữ nhà em. Và bây giờ thì cô trò mình cùng đi viết nhé. Và bây giờ thì cô sẽ hướng dẫn các bạn cách viết chữ nhà em. Chữ nhà thì chữ N cô sẽ viết in hoa, chữ H và chữ A. Và bây giờ thì cô sẽ viết chữ N in hoa. Chữ N in hoa cô viết sẽ cao 5 ô ly. Đó, đây là chữ nhà em mà cô vừa hướng dẫn cho tất cả các bạn viết. Và đây là chữ cái nhà em mà cô vừa hướng dẫn cho tất cả chúng ta viết và làm quen với chữ nhà em. Xin chào và hẹn gặp lại tất cả các bạn ở các video lần sau.